Dr. Chao, today we talk about the quarterbacks. Let's start with Cam Newton, because you don't have any concern, I don't think, that Cam Newton, the Carolina Panthers quarterback who had surgery in March, is going to be ready and good to go for the season.
Well, he's a quarterback and it's his throwing shoulder, so everyone gets worried. But medically, not much concern. It was a debridement surgery. It wasn't a repair. The timeline was right. Yes, there was that little hiccup where they rested him for an extra week or 10 days.
Had some soreness early August.
Yeah, but that's normal if you're really pushing through rehab. They did the safe thing. I really am not worried about him being ready for week one because of the type of surgery he had.
There is another top quarterback who almost certainly won't be ready for the start of the season. Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts had his surgery earlier than Cam Newton, but it was a different type of surgery.
Correct. Nothing went wrong with Andrew Luck's surgery. The Colts aren't slow on the rehab. Andrew Luck is not doing anything wrong. It just was a different injury. Andrew Luck had a repair. There were sutures placed into the labrum. It wasn't a debridement. Cam Newton's surgery was just a debridement. I always say if you mow the lawn, you can play football on it immediately. If you lay down new sod, like Andrew Luck's case, you have to keep off the grass. He needed to not throw, not do stuff for up to 6 months. And now he's in the heart of his rehab program. That's why he's taking longer, the injury itself.
Okay, so per reports, he is throwing on the side, but he is still on the physically unable to perform list. He hasn't practiced. The reports are that the Colts plan to start the season where he will not be on PUP. But we've reached a point, right, where he's not going to play early in the season.
Look, I haven't examined Andrew Luck, and I'm sure the Colts are doing everything right by him and doing all the rehab. But there is a big difference between rehab throwing in private and throwing in practice and throwing in a game.
You've explained it to me as this.
Yes, and in the NBA, just because you can shoot free throws doesn't mean you can play in a game. You first shoot free throws, you may take some jump shots, some practice jump shots, and then you play in live game situation. Remember, for a quarterback, it's almost different than a pitcher. A pitcher knows where his feet are going to be every time, and it's a stationary circumstance that he throws. A quarterback has to throw on the run, there's people at his feet, and in some ways it's more stressful on the arm. I look at it this way, it's be very difficult for a quarterback coming off shoulder surgery to return within 1 month of throwing. In other words, if he returned today and was ready to play in 1 month, I would say that's a quick timeline. We're less than 3 weeks away from week one. So unless he's doing this surprise work where we're not seeing it, I don't see how he plays week one. The question to me is no longer will he play week one, it's when he will play. And at some point in time, if he's not activated off of PUP and brought back, the regular season PUP might come into play. Now, clearly, Andrew Luck is worth carrying, in case he can come back a little bit earlier.
Earlier than 6 weeks, right.
But my point is week one is probably out of the question, and week 2, 3 is starting to get there.
Okay.
So hopefully he can catch up here and get back soon.
Another guy who, while his team isn't expressing much concern at all about him being ready, and they say everything's going to plan, it's been a little tricky with Joe Flacco, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we had a post on Pro Football Doc right there at the beginning of camp. This was probably a disc herniation. No acknowledgement of that in the interim, but gosh, now it's been longer than that week it was supposed to be.
I think our article was July 27th, so almost a month ago at this point in time. And from the get-go, our thought was disc herniation based on how it happened in the weight room, etc., and the circumstances. And by the way, Ravens.com had an article saying disc issue with Joe Flacco that we linked that was taken down after we did that. And the word out of Joe Flacco and the Ravens was muscle soreness and tightness. I'm not calling anyone a liar. Teams do what they do for a reason, okay? But the bottom line is muscle soreness from weightlifting doesn't last over a month. It's been a month now. So what could it be? I think it's a disc herniation, hopefully mild. Hopefully the Ravens are doing the right precautionary thing, maybe even gotten epidural steroid injections. Why? To get him healthy for this season.
What are the possibilities here? Again, you always are stressing you have not examined Joe Flacco, but we are relying on 17 years of experience as an NFL head team physician, an orthopedic surgeon who still works with elite athletes. So that's what I'm asking you for is, so what are the possibilities with Joe Flacco? Could he be ready for week one? Could he be out for the season? What?
I always like to be the bearer of good news and go glass half full. I hope he's ready for week one. I hope he starts practicing soon. Now, if you say, well, you just said Andrew Luck needs 4 weeks to throw, why not a minimum? Why not Joe Flacco? Well, Joe Flacco is not rehabbing his shoulder. He has a back issue. His shoulder is healthy, so it will be quicker for him to get back into throwing and playing. And I hope he could get back to playing with maybe even 2 weeks of practice from his back. So he still has a chance at week 1. I hope he's going to make it week 1. I've treated NFL quarterbacks, I can't say who, with disc herniations that have never had surgery and played and not had problems going forward. I hope that's the case for him. But of course, the worst case scenario is he ends up needing surgery, but we won't even talk about that at this point in time.
I really appreciate that in talking about our posts, and you talk about our, as if I have any expertise to offer. Dr. Chao, thank you very much. Our quarterback update, a Pro Football Doc.